where they would post, where they would kind of post like what the wait time was, and like before it's reached like 2.
All right, we can go ahead and get started. So I'll start the recording again. Okay, where does recording button go? Oh, I just had the button here. Give me a second.
Yeah, Zoom changed the interface for streamings, which kind of sucks because then I have to rewrite the document. But
We can go ahead and get started. I'm going to resume the recording. We'll go ahead and get going. All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 12:05 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and start off with roll call. Chris?
here,
Christina?
Here.
Louise?
Here.
Alex?
Here.
Jasmine?
Here.
Kelly?
Here.
Emmanuel?
Present.
Kyle?
Here.
David?
Here.
All right, we're all here. Before we proceed any further, I would like to acknowledge that we are conducting business on the native land of the Hahamanga tribe of the Tonga Nation and offer a moment of silence for those who come before us. Moving on, we can go ahead. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the agenda for September 16th. If everything here looks good, then we can go ahead and do so. Pretty sure we're doing it today. Can I get it first?
I move approval of the agenda.
I second that motion.
First by David, second by Kyle. I'm going to go ahead and do a roll call vote. Chris?
aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Now moving on to approval of minutes for September 9th. Same thing, if everything looks good and nothing needs to be edited or changed, then I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval of the minutes from September 9th.
Actually, there's an error.
Oh,
The page number, it says page 4 of 3.
oh,
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes with the noted changes.
I think
I
so.
motion approval.
I think someone needs to make a motion to change it with the noted changes, right?
You can just say move approval with noted changes.
Yeah.
I move approval with noted changes to the page numbers.
First by Kyle, can I have a second?
I second that.
All right, second by Kelly. I'll go ahead and bring that to a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Moving on to public comment on non-agenda items. I believe we have no public comments. So we can go ahead and move on to agenda item 3, introductions and reports. We'll start off with board reports, and we'll start with Chris today. Chris, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yeah, so I attended the privacy working group with Christina, Kyle, and Jasmine on Monday. I worked out a timeline for us to gather data from students via a survey via iPro, and then present the data to staff so they can do something about the issues that students potentially have with Proctorio. There's an ICC meeting this Friday, so if you want to come, you're more than welcome to. I'm continuing to work on the ICC training materials, and I will send out a check-in message today to all the people involved in creating content just to see how things are going. I am in discussion with Carrie about the funding and requisition procedures for ICC and the stimulus funding. From what I gather, Student Business Services has a lot of specific processes and stuff that they want us to follow. So kind of working with that. In terms of committee stuff, I have a meeting with Candace tomorrow at 1 p.m. along with Crystal Koros. I believe David and Manuel will be at that meeting too, and we'll talk about the tech survey that's going to be sent out. So if any of you are interested in joining us, please let me know. And that's it.
Thank you, Chris. We'll go ahead and move on to Christina. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Okay, so this Monday I attended the Academic Senate meeting. It was on the September 14th. And then so they basically talked, there was actually a lot to talk about, but spring, they're debating on whether to quickly disclose that spring is most likely going to be online. And they're thinking of announcing it sooner rather than later because they also know some community colleges near us have announced that spring will be online as well. And also, they also announced that they're having a virtual Black Student Success Center that will be up and running next week, and it would be from Monday to Thursday from 10 to 3 p.m. And it would be staffed by Ujima, Black Academia, and academic coaches. And they also announced that they're going to try to basically try to get more African American students, as they know the statistics is low. So they're trying to increase it from around, I believe it's somewhere around 3% to 15%. And I also attended the Curriculum and Instruction Committee, and we approved a few course revisions. And this week, basically tomorrow, we're going to be revising the Business Administration Associate's degree. And I also attended the Calendar Committee, and we went over the 2022 and 2023 tentative fall schedule. And like Chris said, I also attended the policy group, and we have a tentative plan on how we're going to be getting data and reporting it to faculty. And I also attended the Lobby Fee Fund Committee, and we also approved the budget. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Christina. Moving on to Alex. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
So I have my skeleton for Spirit Week. I just need to figure out which week we're actually going to be doing it so it doesn't conflict with anyone else's events. Later today, or wait, yeah, I think later today. I finished my committee app and it'll be sent out with everyone else's in like a newsletter. And then I think that's, I went to the calendar committee meeting and we discussed the fall for 2020, but other than that, I think that's all I had.
Thank you, Alex. Moving on to Kyle. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
This past week, I attended the privacy group meeting with Christina, Jasmine, Chris, and Jordan. We set a tentative timeline and discussed logistics and questions. Basically, how are we going to do this? When are we going to do it? And what are we going to say? And I also redrafted the business affairs amendment, which is on the agenda today. And I converted my committee application to a fillable PDF. It will be released by Kelly or some other individuals later today, hopefully. And lastly, or second to lastly, we finished the lobby fee fund bylaws that are going to be approved possibly at this meeting. And then I work with Kelly on the joint event between the Pre-Law Club and ASPCC for Constitution Day.
All right, great. Thank you for your report. Moving on to Louise. Do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes. Hello, everyone. We finally have our data. I'm kidding. We have our data. I'll be talking about it in the later time in this meeting. I do want to say that Dan may be still finalizing things, so I wouldn't share the link widely. I could also share it with you, but keep it to yourselves for now. On top of that, I'm looking into doing a homecoming Spirit Week event with Alex. And Carrie and I kind of tabled this like involving athletes and band members, since they usually have this time to be highlighted, and obviously we can't do it in the same capacity this year. So I really want to involve them during that time. As well as Carrie and I are trying to do an event around suicide prevention this month, and also having like an LGBTQ plus piece in that. And next month, October, will be sexual/domestic violence awareness month, and I'll be working with health and wellness. For board report or committee reports. Let's see. I went to my first IEC meeting on September 11th, and it was really informational on how they like review programs, kind of getting me set up to what I'm supposed to do. We also discussed like better practices for program maps. I'm not sure if y'all know what that is, but you can definitely ask me and I can show you at a later time. But basically like how those are like program maps that outline like specific majors and classes like students would need to take. Yeah, and then I attended the Lobby Fee Fund meeting, committee meeting that we've already discussed, and I have a college council meeting tomorrow. Yeah, thanks.
Moving on to Kelly, do you have anything you would like to report?
Yes, so thank you everyone who went to the Lobby Fee Fund committee. I also, aside from that, I also want to bring up that Constitution Day, we have everything ready. I have a presentation and trivia. If you guys want to take a look at it, I can send it to you. But that's going to be on Thursday at 11 o'clock. We're also going to be giving out free agendas for people who attend the event, and possibly, it's not completely 100% sure, but we were looking into boba. I contacted about like 10 shops and 3 have gotten back to me. If we're okay, if our policy allows it, we will most likely have that also available to students. And also the committee applications, I've gathered everybody's and asked for a description. Thank you for everyone who sent it to me. I just need from the few of you guys that haven't sent me a view-only link of your Google Doc to send it to me as soon as possible so I can go ahead and send that out. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Moving on to Emmanuel, do you have anything you'd like to report?
Yes. So I was connected through Carrie with the co-chair of the Sustainability Committee, Dr. Oventile, requested for 2 vacant seats to be filled in by students. I'll be choosing whoever I want to join with me. I think is best, I guess, capable once I complete the Sustainability Committee for ASPCC. And I have also gave my application to Kelly. That'll be going on a newsletter soon. Also, I have joined the Project Green Challenge that I've mentioned in the past few weeks. There is a Conscious College road tour stop, some sort of event that would contribute to fighting climate change, but it involves a lot of students. Hopefully I can be able to provide this information to the Sustainability Committee as well. Hopefully that everybody will be willing to join. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Moving on to Jasmine, do you have anything you would like to report?
Yes. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Latinx Heritage Month for those of you that celebrate Latinx Heritage Month. I guess I can start with saying I have one official date for the Building Solidarity across campus event. That will be October 7th, featuring a student panel with Ujima, Cor Puente, and the Cross Cultural Center. Yeah, and so I have that set date, so please keep that in mind. I would love it if you all can come. I'm also finalizing the dates for a movie screening that will be fostering community building, a restorative circle that emphasizes on healing justice, and a spoken word event with the Cross Cultural Center focused on empowerment. So these are some of the components that are kind of set and done. We're just we're finalizing dates and times and all the other virtual things that we have to do. Anyway, so that's one. And then I have been reaching out to some folks about the equity committee, and I've drafted out an email to see who's like interested, because I think I definitely need the help. And I will be participating in the social justice panel on Thursday, tomorrow, from noon to 1 p.m. And I am representing CORE and AS, and we're talking about how we can empower more students, and what benefits we have from a reentry program on campus. And we also worked on a timeline for the privacy working group, or with the privacy working group, we worked on a timeline to get stuff done. I think this is really, really important, just because we foresee that this virtual Zoom education is going to be here for like another year or so. That's all I have to report. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you're staying safe and healthy. Bye.
Thank you, Jess. And last but not least, we have David. Do you have any reports?
Hi, hello everyone. So on last Wednesday, I attended a Board of Trustees meeting, and I just wanted to let everyone know the COVID-19 block grant that I've been talking about for a bit now has been officially been augmented into the school budget. And so that's $2.6 million that are supposed to go to emergency funding to mitigate the impacts of going on to virtual online learning. So I just want to reiterate the importance that we use our voice to let administration know that we want these funds to be spent on student services, and specifically student services that serve students that are underserved, students that lack basic needs. And also wanted to inform you all that the statewide student senate did approve their top 10 priorities for the year. And I just wanted to mention that because that would give us a better understanding of what we would want to focus on in terms of advocacy. And that's obviously basic needs, access to technology, etc. So that's it.
Thank you, David. I'll go and move on to my own reports. I attended the Board of Directors meeting on the 15th, where there was 3 members who were appointed to advisor roles because they fulfilled their 3-year term, and there was 2 board members who were added on. I cannot remember their names, but I will find it later. President Erica, she announced that at the school that we have to borrow $35 million because while we are going to be having the money, it's not going to get here in time to pay some of the bills we have. So there is that loan that's going to be coming through. I attended a little rehearsal meeting today for a student panel for a student panel on Friday. I attended that with Kelly, Louise, Christina, David, and Crystal Ross. I look forward to it. I can send you all the link once we have it available. We've been invited to attend the whole retreat if we would like. I attended the Lobby Fee Fund Committee meeting with Christina, David, Louise, and Kelly, where the budget was approved. Let's see. I attended a hiring committee meeting for the Chief Diversity Office. It was our final little meeting, all as a group. I'm gonna miss that group, but we finally decided to send forward our final candidates, which have been sent to the next level. So hopefully soon that position gets filled. Last Wednesday, I attended the Board of Trustees meeting with David, and he kind of already covered that. I'm going to be attending College Council meeting tomorrow with Louise from 10:30 to 12. If any of you are interested, just let one of us know and we can send you that meeting information. I received an email this morning asking for us to provide 1 student for another hiring committee, so I'll bring that up later on at the end when we get to that agenda item. But other than that, that is all I have for my own reports. So we can go ahead and move on to our advisor reports. Advisors, David, would you like to report?
Sorry, Mackenzie, I can barely hear you. Is that my cue? Yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so welcome to I think this is week 4, which is really scary of the semester. Don't forget this week is the Social Justice Equity Fair, Job Fair, and tonight is Cesar Cruz. He's a speaker, he's their keynote speaker, so don't forget if you have time today around 5 go ahead and throw that in, and get the link. He's a really good motivational speaker. So that's pretty cool. Couple things coming up. So as we are getting closer and closer that we're doing programs, I'm trying to walk all of you through this process of what we do, because we never did talk about the nitty gritty of how we do X, Y, and Z. So please, if you've done a program, reach out to someone. If you've, even if it's been like through your club work or anything else, just help other folks out. But one of the key things I'm realizing is that folks don't, just want to remind you that an advisor has to be at all your events and all your meetings. So you can't schedule a meeting for something you are doing and your capacity is AS without making sure either myself, Dean Cobb, Jordan, or Lindsay are present. Often Miss Sharon and Janina can also supervise in a pinch, but please remember to schedule these things in a little bit in a timely manner so I have time to look at my schedule. And this is going to become important as you start scheduling committee meetings. You're going to want to have, you're going to want to schedule those, and you need to make sure that I'm available. Usually publicity meets with Janina, finance meets with Sharon, student equity meets with Matt, David and Kyle should be meeting with Dean Cobb, but she's also sick, so I will fill in for that. And everyone else meets with a combination of me or Jordan, depending on how Jordan's time is. Remember, he's in school and doing a bunch of other stuff. So there's that. Also, if I schedule you for some meetings, let me just remember if I need to let you know, because I know that I've got a couple meetings coming up and sometimes folks no show. If I need to send you a reminder, let me know. But just as a reminder, tomorrow, Alex and Jasmine, we're meeting. Emmanuel, we're supposed to meet on Friday, but I think it's during the time that we're all at Crystal's meeting, the one from 9 to 12. So we might have to reschedule, but just to kind of keep up on those to make sure that we're meeting. If you only need to see me every other week, that's fine. If you need help with your agendas, let me know. We can put those out and review them, because I'll tell you, you don't want to have public facing mistakes that are really easily fixable. Okay. Your dates are wrong. Your locations are wrong. Your page numbers are wrong. Those are easily fixable. And then we also want to make sure that all your actionable items are actionable items. So you need to have someone review your agenda, go to Mackenzie or come by to me or Jordan. We can certainly look through those things. Other things that are going on, just a lot of work as we gear up. Folks are starting to look for more and more students to participate. So I'm excited to see you all get your applications out. Thank you, David, for putting the Lancer Life applications for the 2 VPs, because we really do need to fill those positions ASAP. And they need to go out a couple other ways. I don't know if we put them out on Instagram and PCC book sale. Those are kind of like the things that come to mind. But if we can put the Instagram out again that has the link, because I know the deadline is next week, Monday. I think this is Monday's the 21st or is it Tuesday? Other than that, we're working on, just working on a lot of stuff. And I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head. But other than that, good to see you all.
Okay, so I guess it's my turn. So just really quickly, I am working with Carrie right now to order all of your tech needs from Amazon. The guy from the bookstore never got back to me, so we're just going to go ahead and order those. I'm also going to be working on an agreement. So if you check any of the tech needs out, there's going to be a date of when you need them returned by, which is going to be at the end of your term, depending on obviously how long we're going to be working remotely and doing things remotely, which will very much likely be into the next year. So hang on to those things as much as you need, but just make sure you give them back to us. And all of this will be in the agreement. You give them back to us at the end of your term in office. Also, please be aware, I know most of you are in sort of like this area or in other areas that are affected by the wildfire smoke. Please, please, please be aware of the effects that it has on your health and everything. I've been feeling really terrible for the past week. I've just been like drained of energy. My body's been aching. And it's been really hard for me to do a lot of things that I need to do normally, like read about articles about white privilege and all this stuff, and things that I really enjoy learning about has been really hard, and it's been a struggle for me. So please, please, please invest in an air purifier or get a humidifier, a diffuser, things that really help you out. And just please pay attention to your bodies and what they need right now. Try to limit exposure outside. These fires aren't supposed to get any better until mid-October to late October. So just keep that in mind moving forward. And if you need any help with that, let me know. There's something else, but I will just go to you. But yeah, 2020 sucks, Christina. It really does. I'm really done with 2020. So, but other than that, that's all I have to share.
Thank you, advisors, for your reports. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 4, shared governance discussion. If any of you had anything that you wanted more clarification or further discussion on that was mentioned in board report, now's the time that you can bring it up. I'll go ahead and give you all a moment.
Mackenzie, if no one has anything. So I think, am I good?
You're good.
So I just want to let you all know that, what you're doing in these committees really does matter. Someone asked me, what are the perks of being on a committee? And with these shared governance committees, it really is a lot, because even though you feel like, oftentimes they're not listening to you, they really, really do, because as students, you kind of are the holy grail, because it's one of those things that if if enough students say that this isn't right or this isn't working, or if you bring forth, kind of those types of comments, a lot of times folks will switch gears and they'll look at different things, right? Shared governance simply means, people have this idea that shared governance means that you get to vote and that the outcome is democratic. It's not. It is where you get the opportunity to be at the table, to share your opinion, and to make your voice heard. Ultimately, the decision will still lay with, whose ever purview that is with their job. For instance, if it is institutional effectiveness, it's always going to be the chair, or, when you have calendar committee, it's always up to that committee to decide, and they may not always, you have a chance to vote, you have a chance to use your voice to sway opinion, but that doesn't mean that always that your opinion is going to, it's going to, reign supreme, right? I think that's sometimes a challenge people have with shared governance. Just because you get a seat at the table doesn't mean that you get your way. But having a seat at the table is important, because otherwise our voices, the student voices, would never be heard. So I know a lot of you now are getting into the thick of your meetings. Feel free to hit me up, hit Jordan up. He sat on these committees too. And just, look for background. I'm trying to connect you all with people who I know in those committees who are very student friendly, who you can kind of electronically sit next to, where you can message them and ask them questions. And usually they're very supportive to students. It's interesting because I sat in on the calendar committee and they just rolled right over you all. Like you all weren't even there. And it was very interesting. And then I saw what happened at IEC, where it was different, and it was actually a very different experience, where they actually took time to onboard and explain the process to all the new members. So those are two very different committees, and I'm hoping to make sure that all of you have one person at least on a committee that you can send a private message to saying, what is this? How does this work? Also, if you are Mackenzie, we need to ask Francis if they will post a list of all of the committees and who's on what committee. That should be part of the regular packet.
Okay.
Okay. So ask them if they will include that, so that way people know who's on what committee. And if you see your committee listed and you know the times and the dates that they meet, let's send that to Francis so they can put it on there as well, because I think there's some confusion over who's got what committee and when they're supposed to go. But I guess under this report thing, I just want to encourage you to speak out and share your experiences. If you need help figuring out what is the appropriate way to do that, let's work on it and we can talk about it. If there's enough folks interested, I can run a quick, 30-minute, hey, this is how you speak in a committee type of thing. But now's the time to share anything if you learned anything or you have concerns. I know there are concerns because some of you told me them when you were sitting on these committees.
Thank you, Carrie. Did anybody else have any other discussion for this item before we move on? Hearing none, then we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 5, action items, which our first item, business affairs amendment, is brought to us by Kyle. So Kyle, the floor is yours.
Well, would you mind sharing that document? Awesome. Yeah, so it's just an amendment on the previous one I made. I changed the wording for it. You guys can just read it and tell me what you think, but I think it should be pretty good to send out. An additional thing we've been considering is having some sort of caveat, some sort of change to the election bylaws to add exceptions for people who, for example, have worked in the industry. But we need this to actually be in the books before we put that out there, as in this has to go through an election process. So after the AS approves this, this would go on the ballot for the next election cycle. And then after it gets successfully put into the Constitution, that's when we make the exception clause. Just take that into account when you're deciding whether to approve this or not.
Does anybody have any comments for us before we go ahead and move on to voting?
Yeah. Yep, that's correct.
So I have a question. Does anyone else have a question?
You can go ahead, Carrie, if you have anything you'd like to say.
Okay, so I think I want to just clarify the process, the steps that you're thinking of doing. Is this going to be an amendment to the Constitution, or is this going to be an amendment to bylaws?
So this specifically would be an amendment to the Constitution. So David is right, it would have to go through the Supreme Council. But the whole point I was trying to get across was that we're going to have a possible amendment or a possible amendment to the bylaws as well, in addition to this. But before we can make that amendment to the bylaws, we have to have this in the Constitution. Otherwise, there will be no reference point for the amendment to the election bylaws.
Okay, so if that's being the case, then I would like to see what article and clause this would be going to. I'd recommend that you put that in there before anyone take action to approve this, because we don't know where this is going to go. And since this has to go to vote, but it looks like it has to go to Supreme Council first, and this is the step process, here. Actually, does that have to go to Supreme Council first, David, and then to AS?
It can be either or.
Yeah.
So any board member can introduce an amendment or a bylaw to any of our governing documents. That was one of the main changes that I made last year.
Okay. And then what I'm hearing from you, Kyle, you feel it's appropriate to put the amendment in the bylaws as opposed to the Constitution, correct?
Wait, what?
So the way this works is that if this group approves this, it's going to go to Supreme Council, and the Supreme Council approves of it, it will then be eligible for the ballot, which will be in the spring.
Correct.
Where did you intend to put a caveat or an exception or an appeal process for that course or grade?
1 second. That would go under election bylaws, section 2, I want to say. How are my notes?
That's what I wanted to know, because bylaws are amended separately than constitutional.
Yes.
So that's what I just wanted to make sure. So you feel that the amendment clause should go in the bylaws?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to check. Thanks.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Looks like we have no discussion. Co.
Good job, Kyle.
Who was that?
It was Jordan.
That was me. I said good job, Kyle.
Uh-huh. I'm still going to recommend that this not progress because there's no section or article number, so I don't know where this is supposed to go in your constitution.
So what I can do is we can table this till next meeting, and I can include it on the page in the Constitution where it's going to change, so you can see the exact place where it's going to go. I included that in the previous version, but I took it out this time because I amended it. But I can add it back in next time, and we could vote on it then.
Or you could just simply tell us this is going to be Article 4, Section 2, Item A, if you have that with you.
Give me a moment to find it in my notes.
I think just because we're simply approving the content itself and not necessarily any grammar or structural changes. I think if we just approve the content later, I mean, he can just make those structural and content changes afterwards. It won't really impact the actual content.
I just don't know where in the and if I'm a student looking at this on the video, I don't know where this is in the Constitution.
Yeah, give me a moment. Still looking.
While he looks for that, did anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns on this? Looks like we have none.
This is a change to Section 1, Clause 3. This is, let me check. Yeah, Section 1, Clause 3. Let me pull it up exactly where it is. This is Article 2, Section 1, Clause 3. And this is subpoint 3, or Clause 3. So just to clarify what I said, that's Article 2, Section 1, Clause 3.
Okay, thank you.
I would also say it would, I mean it's up to you obviously, but it would probably might be helpful if you had a committee first so that you could sort of vet that through your committee and get all of their viewpoints, so you can get like a whole, you know, like a lot of feedback more than just us, the e-board, just because it's not really our job to be privy to the governing documents, but having a committee with everyone who it's literally their jobs to know everything about it, that might be helpful. Also because maybe if you get your committee later on and they see discrepancies in this, then, you know, it's just going to be like a kind of waste of time if you have to go back and make changes afterwards.
Yeah, that's a valid viewpoint. I don't know how long it's going to take to get the committee. If we're releasing the apps today, and my app's due on the 25th, so it might be a whole month before we get to this, but it's also not time sensitive necessarily. So I could always wait to bring it back up to the board for a couple of months. So I think that's good input.
So did you want to go ahead and table this then?
Yeah, let's table this indefinitely.
Or you can just not take action on it. Yeah, like David said.
You can just go ahead and do no action then.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me just write that down in my notes and then we'll go ahead and move on. All right, so we can go ahead and move on then to the next agenda item. The next action item is lobby fee fund bylaws, which, Kyle, the floor is still yours. I think I have that.
Would you mind opening that again? Do you have it open? There we go. So this is basically the lobby fee fund bylaws. These were from 1996 is when they were last amended, I want to say. I could be wrong on the year, but I basically copied them over, I typed them up, and I basically changed a few key individuals in the bylaws to make them more time relevant, so to say.
Anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns on this? Hearing none, then I'd like to entertain a motion to go ahead and approve the lobby fee fund bylaws.
I motion to approve. Can I do that? It's my own amendment.
Good.
All right.
Second that.
First by Kyle, second by Kelly. We'll go ahead and bring this to a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 6, discussion items. Discussion item A, data for COVID and students, is brought to us by Louise. Louise, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Oh my goodness.
A
Sorry.
point of order, I'm sorry. Our mission statement's next.
Oh, sorry.
Oh.
I'm blind. All right. So, David, the floor is yours.
Okie dokie. If you could let me share my screen.
Okay.
All right, so this is the one that I sort of, I got you guys' feedback and I just finished with this. We, the Associated Students of Pasadena City College, commit ourselves only to you, the student. We commit to working with other constituent groups to foster a campus culture that is anti-racist and equity-minded, to advocate for holistic engagement and the inclusion of the student voice in all levels of college governance. Further, we commit to prioritize accessibility, to be a visible presence and support system in your journey through higher education at PCC. So are there any thoughts, any feedback? Anyone?
Who was the students? I mean, I think it's good that we're saying that we're speaking to the students because we didn't have that before. So I feel like it makes it more personal and relatable in that way.
Anyone else? Do you all like it?
Oh, I like it. Considering all the comments we gave you, I think this is, I think it's good.
Your kind of sounds like a weird pronoun to use, sorry, in your journey. Like, I guess it's kind of like depending on the reader, right? Like your, what if, I don't know, that just doesn't read.
Your?
Yeah.
What would you suggest as a replacement?
Maybe instead of your, like, just be students, and then in students' journey through, yeah, and then students can just, you can have an apostrophe at the end.
You could also say our students.
And our students, that's true. Depends on how specific you want to be.
I mean, I only put your just because I started off with
To you,
addressing
yeah.
the reader,
Uh-huh.
and then continuing on with addressing the reader again. But
Okay, I see. I don't know. It just, for like whatever point of perspective, I haven't brushed up on my English skills. Like, I don't know if this should be that point of perspective with you, your, but that's just me. I don't know if anyone else feels the same.
Either way could work.
To you, like, what if you're not a student, but you're like, you know.
I mean, I think that's the point that I want to get across, that we're here for students. We're not here for anyone else. We're a student association, and that's the people that we serve.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know if that's the message that, if that's not the message that we want to sort of translate, we can change that.
Ourselves only to student.
I like it. I wouldn't change it.
Avoiding second person. That's what I was talking about, I guess. Because you, can directly address the reader and can personalize the writing, but it should not be used in academic writing such as papers or journals.
Well, I mean, this isn't an academic
Right.
thing. It's just our mission statement. I think it's valid, to be honest.
Okay.
But if anyone has any objections to the content of the mission statement, I'll just move approval of the mission statement for 2020-2021.
We have a first by David. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Second by Jasmine. We'll go ahead and bring this to a roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Louise?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kyle? Kyle?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
David?
Sorry, aye.
All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, now we can move on to the next agenda item. This is our next discussion item. Moving on to discussion items. Discussion item A, data for COVID and students, is brought to us by Louise. Louise, the floor is yours.
Hello. Sorry. Hello. All right. I'm back again. I'm going to share the Tableau platform that Dan sent me for the data on COVID students. I'm going to share my screen.
Also sharing.
Please work. Let's see. Does everyone see it?
See it.
Awesome. Okay, let me get to. No. Oh, now I see. Okay. Give me a second. Also, thank you so much to Dan and for putting this together. She's probably had to deal a lot with me asking about things, but just to show you what it looks like, this survey or the survey's data responses were collected between March 27 to April 10. So it was like very early in coronavirus time. So some of this data may have changed over time. Please let me know if you want to see anything specific, but I'm going to move on. Basically, this is kind of like who answered, who heard from their instructors and who didn't. But in the end, it ultimately looked like everyone heard from their instructors. Okay. I know that a lot of this is kind of like has changed over time just because there has been so much time that has passed. So I'm just going to continue. Let me know if you want to see anything. These were who it was.
I had a quick question. When was this survey like given out to the public, and when did it, I guess, like close? Oh yeah. So the survey itself, I believe they took this information in March. Let's see, March 27 to April 10. The survey was administered. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. Yeah. Yeah, and then going back to this was the data on students that were concerned about how COVID would impact their daily lives, which obviously looks like a lot, which I guess we can all kind of attest to as well. Classes they were enrolled in, how many were remote, and this was kind of just like, kind of asking like how their instructors were doing, how many were recorded, how many were live. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but if there are still live classes going on, I think that the people that would benefit, or the members that would benefit from this data would mostly be Christina or, well, Chris, but then y'all are already doing the tech piece with that. And that's why I'm gonna move on.
This is just like who is remote. Oh, actually, let me just share this with you so that you can also take a look going back and forth. I think this will be fine.
My question is, if I can jump in here, maybe a little bit too premature because I know you haven't gotten to the end yet, but from this data, like what can AS do with it? Like what's kind of your perspective on how we can take action on this?
Yes, I was gonna go through the data to go to that, but that would probably just be better since we don't really know how to frame this yet.
Yeah.
I did take a look, and it mostly looks like the pieces that I found that were like mostly alarming were like, let me go to like live classes, recorded classes, like going into like academic equity. In that sense, students were concerned with like pass or no pass grades. I don't know about now, but I think that is something to still ask students during this time, like how has your PCC experience changed, or like what are different concerns that you have, knowing now that we have this data. And then one of the biggest ones was access to learning resources. It looked like a lot of people didn't know about it, or they haven't been able to access it. And then like, of course, there's the people who didn't need it or they have known about it. I think it's like the people in this area that we really need to reach out to, as well as like student resources. There's like half a majority that didn't know about it, weren't able to access it, versus like they have and they didn't need it. And I think that kind of goes in like, of course, like our kind of conversation about how to reach out to students about these different resources. And I think that was what I was going to ask in the surveys going forward, like how have you been able to get information? Do you still like find that pass or no pass is like something that you would like to do? And then it doesn't really cover like basic needs, but since we have changed in that sense, wondering what the needs are now, considering like there's like wildfire, et cetera. So yeah, that's what this data kind of showed me, is that there's like a big gap about people who are students who don't know how to access versus they don't know about these resources. And then it goes back to communicating with students. Let me see if I can share this with y'all. How do you get the chat in this? Wow, this is crazy. Oh, there it is. I think that'll work. Yeah, so going on top of the headers here, if there's one data area that you would like to know more about, I can definitely go to that for your comments. Yeah.
Another question that I have is, this survey obviously wasn't created just, for AS. Was it like other departments are taking a look at this and doing work on their end in response to these results? Like, can you maybe shed a light on who else also received these results and what they're doing, if you have any?
Yeah, well, these results were done by the like Crystal Corus's office. So it's like I forgot what they're called, institutional effectiveness surveys. Yes. So I really don't know who has access to this, but I know that they're she's very like adamant about sharing data. I'm sure a lot of people have been looking into what students have been experiencing through COVID. And I think that talking to like directors and departments has definitely helped in that aspect about like knowing what they know. But yeah, like I think this is more just for like us in terms of like how we're gonna survey in the future.
Sure. Okay.
Like student surveys.
Well, I'm just thinking like if we're going to take action on this and start, creating stuff for students, I don't want to work in parallel with other departments that might have started a project already, and we're kind of working towards the same goal, which is very ineffective. If we can kind of get in touch with the other departments that have this data and are planning to do something about it, AS can maybe start a collaborative effort, with those people instead of just us starting from scratch. But I don't know, maybe I'm just reading too much into this. Maybe this is just data and we're just looking at it just because we're privy to this information that iPro was generously given to us. But I don't know. I'm just kind of wondering.
No, I totally agree. When I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, like this is stuff that we have kind of known, but now we can like see the numbers and data. I was gonna have this as like more of a discussion as to like what is new in this aspect now that we have it. I know like the tech stuff is definitely like more covered now, but I was looking more towards like academic affairs of like what students are looking towards when they're instructors, like pass, no pass, recording their lectures. If I could get Christina's input on that. I don't know if you would actually know.
I don't know at this time because we are putting out a survey that addresses the policy, but it's not set in stone right now. But yeah.
Can I say something, Mackenzie? Yeah, okay. So I think this is important. And I think, Chris, you bring up an important point. This is your audience, right? Like these are the people that you need to know what's going on in their lives. And this is one of the ways that we can do that, right? Is by accessing and utilizing data. So for example, for me and Carrie, right? Like since we work for the Office of Student Life and since you all are a part of the Office of Student Life, access to the Office of Student Life, look at this number right here. No, I did not know about it. 899 students out of that entire survey didn't know that we had an Office of Student Life, right? And so I'm looking at that as, okay, so what can we do to market ourselves a little bit better for those students, right? And then you can also look at the ones where it says, no, I have not needed it. And that's 926. So 40.1% of respondents said they didn't need it. Well, I run under the assumption that everybody needs access to some sort of life, right? As being a student. So me being somebody that works for Student Life, I'm like, crap, okay, so what do I have to do now? And what does me, Carrie, and the rest of the Student Life staff have to do to market ourselves better to these students, right? The other thing too that I would look at is things like Lancer Pantry, right? There's a lot of food insecurity going on right now that, Emmanuel's in good contact with people that are a part of that, right? But this is gonna give him data to say, look, there's people that don't know about the food pantry, right? Like what is going, like how do we do that? How do we market the food pantry a little bit better? So when you're looking at data, you're gonna wanna look at specifics, right? Jasmine can look at access to Quest Center, access to Puente, right? Access to all this stuff. And so me as somebody that is specific to, a certain community on campus, I'm looking at this data and saying, okay, what can I do and how can I market ourselves better for students, right? So that's why I feel like we need to just look at it.
So to kind of rephrase what Jordan said, I think all of us have kind of our own silos on campus that we attend to. So we should kind of look at this survey from our perspective as VP of whatever and see what we can do to, within our specialty, help students. Okay, got it. I'm trying to look, not to steer the conversation if that wasn't the intention, but I'm trying to look at this now then, based on what you said, Jordan, just trying to see if clubs or organizations are mentioning this because that's my specialty.
Yeah, and even for you, Chris, like you can even take like Office of Student Life, right? Since ICC is technically a part of Student Life, right? Like that.
I'm just already thinking like, our website needs a brush up, for sure. Absolutely. Based on this access. I don't know, access seems kind of like a broad term, but access being that remote now kind of to me signifies our website. So.
Right. Well, I take accesses to like, how easily accessible are we to students, right? Like, am I doing office hours? Probably no, because I'm working on other things, but I probably should be doing that in case you or anybody else in student, in AS or even any clubs or any other students from any other programs, I need to be readily available and those need to be, right? Like, that's just something that I need to think about moving forward. And I like how you said, each individual board member is a part of a specific, not silo, but you're a part of a specific network and community on campus that this data might be like, hey, so for example, if there's people like I'm just going to use Jasmine for example, if there's no access to Core or Quest Center or Puente, right? She can look at this data and go back to Pablo or go back to I forgot her name, the coordinator for the Quest Center, and say, hey, so we have students that don't know that this exists, and so what can I help you with to promote this, so that way we can get all these things, right? And I already know just from off the top of my head that Quest Center already has events that are coming up. Okay, cool. Would it help if I promote it for you? Great. And that can be just as simple as that, right?
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much, Jordan. This is definitely very insightful. Also, definitely like helped me kind of talk about what I wanted this data to be. No, very good. Is there any other like comments, questions with this data, or like what we can do moving forward?
Yeah, I just want to say I love that we have this data, because now when we're advocating for students, we have something to say, that we have data to back up our arguments. Just one thing I kind of, just looking at the questions right now, I mean, a lot of these questions are honestly things that the school could have answered for itself. And I'm kind of disappointed that they didn't really focus a lot on experience with remote instruction and sort of the challenges with those things and concerns. And yeah, I just wish they hammered more on that instead of asking questions that they could have answered themselves. But
yeah, and I think in the future, not to assign someone another role or add more work, but maybe we need a liaison between Crystal or the Office of Institutional Effectiveness to better create these surveys and have student input into them.
David, sorry.
I think.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to respond to Chris. I think that's exactly like why like this data is important, because then we can, as like AS, we can make those surveys for that student input in that sense, right?
And kind of dropping the privacy working group too, I guess. This is ideally, what we want to kind of see in terms of data from iPro that we can get in, in a format that's really digestible and nice to look at if we're going to do a privacy survey. But I'm not going to go more into that because that's not this discussion item.
I was just going to say, David, can you elaborate on that second part? What you said? Like, give me an example of like questions that the college should have already known.
So the college knows how many live classes they have. They know how many recorded classes they have. Just based off of data that they should have already available, they should know how many students should have been aware of pass, no pass. Just by like if students were inquiring about it or students that didn't even inquire at all. They should know how many classes students are enrolled in. They should know these things already. And they do know them, so I don't know why they ask them. Because they know the exact numbers for everything. In fall 2020, for this year, they specifically said they have 2,719 classes that are completely online. And so they have this data, so I don't know why they asked that.
Louise, can you click on live classes?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Quite a lot. Which part would you like to
No, to me, reading this, like how many of your remote classes are live? Because the thing about students is I don't even think, right? Like if people, like we were just talking about this in the privacy policy group, right? If people don't read the syllabus, right? And they like, in the syllabus, it specifically says that you're using Proctorio. I don't think it's the college's fault or the professor's fault that they're not reading the syllabus, right? And so I think what they're doing here is asking how many students are taking remote classes and how many of them are live, because I can guarantee you most of these students probably didn't know and still don't know how many of their classes are live or if it's considered live, right? But you're right. The college does have numbers of how many classes are live and how many classes aren't, but they don't know how many students are actually taking those live classes. And I think this was an issue where it came to asynchronous versus synchronous classes, because again, going back to Dean Cobb's point, we're not a, Carrie, help me with the wording.
Correspondence school.
Yeah, we're not a correspondence school. And so I think for them, this was a way to kind of monitor and get those results. But I could be totally wrong. I'm not trying to make excuses for the college at all, because that's my last thing that I want to do. But I'm just saying, like, when we look at it through different lenses, it might be for a different reason other than the fact that like the college doesn't know how many classes are going live.
Yeah, I mean, they could have just also asked their department chairs and asked their instructors. But I think just because they put so much in the survey, I think it kind of distracted from what the data that they should have been collecting. But that's just me. I don't know.
Thanks for bringing this up, Lois. I believe this is a great opportunity to compare this data to an updated survey. A lot of these numbers should have changed by now, since instructors and faculty staff may have been trained to adapt and adjust to this new virtual setting. I know that some professors are live. I have 2 classes that are live, but we have the opportunity to go back at a later time. I think that data would be good to get, see how many people it has benefited that we have the opportunity to go back and watch a recording of the lecture.
Yeah. So is there any other, everyone got the link, right? And you can access it just in case you want to go back.
Got the link.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, if there's any other discussion, comments, I'm just gonna have this to hold on to and see how, I'm gonna personally use it for my work, but I would definitely encourage you all to do the same.
Luis, now that we have all of this data with us, is there like a certain plan you have in mind now that you have this, or is it just to sort of like narrow down like what kind of events you're doing, or like what do you have in mind now that we have this? I know Chris kind of mentioned this earlier too.
Yeah, I remember like starting off finding this data, asking like Carrie, like, oh, for the surveys, like what questions should we be asking students? What do we already know, so I don't have to re-ask, that kind of thing, and asking the right questions. And because of all this data, now I can really understand like, oh, because students don't know about student resources, what is the most effective way of like communicating with them? Or, are grades like pass and no pass still a big concern? Or, just about a bunch of like data like that. So it's definitely going to be used in like new student surveys that I'll be doing throughout the year. And if I will.
I think you froze on us.
Her internet might have dropped out.
Internet really loves AS.
Before she comes back, I will say to you all, keep in mind this survey, the results were taken during like right when the pandemic happened. And so like Emmanuel had said, a lot of this might have changed already because students knew what they were getting into come this semester. And so I would be interested to see if they were going to do something similar for this semester and see how that data correlates with that data, because again, a lot of students didn't know. There were a lot of unknowns at this point, especially for us as well. So just be sparing with this data. It's great and it's really great information to have. But again, those answers and the data might not be, but it might have changed since then, because now students knew that for fall of this year, they were going to be completely remote. So answers may have changed. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Hi, everyone.
I have a question.
Promise. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I just have a question for either Carrie or Jordan. Just based off of your experiences with student surveys on the campus, like how quickly do you think we could receive the data after a survey's been taken? Because I know just looking at the survey, it was published September 9th, but the survey was taken like 3 or 4 months ago. I was just wondering how, like, could we get that data before it's published, or?
I think, I think that would depend on, I think that's a Crystal question, because I know that when they do a survey, there's a lot of other things that they have to, I don't want to say fix, but things that they have to look at before they produce the results. So that way they're not as biased or skewed as possible. I don't know what that process is, but I do know, I think that would be a very important Crystal question. It's different when, if you were to do a survey, like if AS were to do a survey and you all were to do, go through the data, we could sit, talk about it, sift through it, and then present it in a way that's, presentable to everybody. But I honestly don't know.
Pretty much what Jordan said, because it's easy enough to run the survey, but you have to work this into the workload and what they're doing. And also sometimes the data that comes back needs to be disaggregated or looked at, because all of you, if you've ever had a stats class, right, you know how the data can be presented. So it's about looking at it and sorting it carefully. So this project may have been established in spring, and it may, like George said, I have no idea how long it takes them and what their workload is to turn it out. So it's not as easy as just collecting data and then reporting back on the facts. There's some tweaking that has to go on to make them valid, because not all your answers are good. So it's a little bit of time, but I think if you have concerns, or if there's one that's coming out, I think we ask, hey, what's the timeline? Can we get this, and they're also like, we're lucky we got this from Dan, because it hasn't been fully vetted. She's giving it to us in the rough draft state. So, they don't want to put out bad information. So I think if there's one that you're really specific in, let's make sure we ask them and say, what's the time frame?
So Carrie and Jordan, do you know if another survey has been released asking for like updates now within the semester? No, Joe says no, probably not.
So I don't get the student surveys because I'm not a student. Did you all get a survey recently? That would be my question to you all.
I haven't seen any, but usually I get them late and I find out from like Connie if there was a survey sent out. So for me,
Connie.
I think these are all very valid questions. I think they need to be directed to Crystal though, only because there may not be one out, but they may be working on one, or they may be tweaking this one to be put out, because I do know that for a fact that they're probably going to wait until either the drop deadline is passed or some sort of deadline, so that way they can get the most amount of student responses in that time frame. And I know like the 4th week is not probably the best week, because students are still trying to get used to this system that we have being online. So but I don't know if David wants to do it or you, Mackenzie, wants to ask these questions to Crystal, but I think the quicker we ask her, the more we'll have clarity on whether or not they're going to do another survey, and how long it takes survey results to get to us.
Yeah. And we have a meeting with both Candace and Crystal tomorrow, so that's definitely a good place to ask those questions.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say you can send Louise to ask, since she's already built a relationship with Dan, to explain the process. So that way you all have an understanding of how that works.
Did we have any further discussion on this topic? I know we've had a lot of good conversation going. Did anybody else have something they want to throw in or ask for more clarification on? Oh, wait, let me bring back up the agenda. Now that Louise stopped sharing her screen. Right. Hearing no discussion, we can go ahead and move on with the agenda. So discussion item B, invited guests, we have none. Discussion item C, AS training. Carrie and Jordan, since it's It's 1:20. Did we have anything we want to throw in for AS training or?
So why don't we do this? Because I hadn't expected us to get this far. Usually we don't get to training. And so I don't have anything lined up officially. I do have two things that perhaps we could talk about, but I was also thinking, I also recognize these are long meetings. So maybe what we do is we can end the meeting and then anyone who wants to stick around for that piece can. What I wanted to go over was more stuff with Lancer Life to get you all active users on that. And then, do you all know how to use, actually, let me ask David and Louise, are you all okay being the only people who post on Instagram?
Now it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not hard. It's just, I respond to all of the direct messages that we get too, because I can just get them and I just respond to them and it's easy.
Okay. Because that was the other thing is that we'd work on either going to Canva so you all learn how to create, because you know, we will get a publicity person, but in the meantime, you all need to fill this gap. So that would be just kind of a little bit about the publicity type of thing, and also going to Lancer Life to show you how to create an event or a form. So that way, a lot of these things that you're asking folks, you can record and capture their information. So we can do that. But what I'd like to do is probably just move through and just do it at the end. So that way, if you want to stay, you can stay. Otherwise, I don't know about you, but it feels like Friday, even though it's only Wednesday. It's like it's been a long week.
Yeah, Carrie, I thought we had a staff meeting today until I realized it was Wednesday.
I was like, wait, we have a staff meeting? You panicked.
Well, it's good to have a slow Wednesday every once in a while, you know?
So do you want to go ahead and just let people stick around if they want to, and then? Okay, so this actually gives me time to talk about our next agenda item, appointment to college-wide committees. I'll pull up the email that was sent to me this morning. So it's about the hiring. It is for the Assistant Superintendent Vice President of Instruction. So for this hiring committee, it'll take about 6 to 8 weeks of your time. Having gone through this with Carrie, I think we can both vouch and say that it's definitely an interesting experience to have. So sorry, this is all just like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. So I'll pull up the dates because I'm sure that's times you don't care about. So these are the dates that they have sort of set right now to go through with everything. And I'm going to tell you now, you need to show up to each of those meetings. You can't think like, oh, I'll leave an hour early. No, I'm sorry. You got to clear out your day for these. So it's really fun to do those. So it's worth it. Not going to leave you brain dead at the end of it. I know we all sit through crazy meetings all the time. This is actually a really good committee to sit on. So we need at least one person to sit in on this. Just need one person from AS. So I'm not sure too much about this position. Carrie, I don't know if you know anything about this.
I'm muted. Sorry. So yeah, this is Terry Juni's position.
What?
So,
He's retiring?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's retiring in December.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a really big deal. And traditionally, I would probably recommend that this goes to Christina because this is her area. But I'm going to say this, having been through this new hiring process with Mackenzie, I like it, but man, does it suck time. It really does. So you have to be able to commit to that, but I'll tell you, and Mackenzie can talk about this too, it is truly exciting to be able to have input on who the next president's going to be or vice president's going to be. Do we know who the chair is, Mackenzie? Your computer page is a little funky.
Right here. And we have Jeanette Perez serving as the EEO representative. I believe it's around the same way that our hiring committee is.
Oh, Crystal Koros. So she's going to serve as the chair. Okay, first of all, Crystal is great. I don't know if you've seen her enough times, but she, you know, when we talk about student impact and student voice, she is very good at recognizing student voice. So if you're on this committee, your voice will be heard, first of all. But it's going to be a long ass. Oh, David, I wish we could be compensated for these committees, because I'll tell you what really sucks is faculty get compensated for being hiring committees. Classified staff and management don't.
Yeah.
And this sucked up because we did this Chief Diversity Officer. I'd say Mackenzie, training was 4 hours.
Yeah, it was at least 4 hours. And then
It took me at least,
we had a lot of small committee meetings and then full group meetings. And the interview day itself started at like 8 a.m. and didn't end until like 4:30. And my group stayed afterwards to deliberate. So my day was from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
yeah, so I'm going to say that this is probably a 20 to 24 hour commitment because there's one 4-hour training. It took me at least 8 hours to go through all the applications. There was an 8-hour day that we did interview. And that's because we had 8 individuals. You don't necessarily have to have 8 individuals, but for this type of position, this is a position that people want. It's a headhunter position. You're probably going to have at least 30 applications, and that's after they've been vetted. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you interview at least 8 people. And yeah, you've got trainings. If they follow the same methodology that they did for us, this is probably a 20 to 24-hour commitment. So Mackenzie, scroll up on those dates again so everyone can see them. My first inclination is that this should be Christina because this is her area of expertise, that she works with people. And she, even though it's not much, has had exposure to Terry Juni. But only if you can make those dates. Now I know there's no time next to them. Yeah, they'll be, it's 3 days within this week. So they tell you that, but they're going to try and cram them all into one day. So look at those dates. I know they're kind of broad. And you will have some input if you have classes, right? Say I've got a class. But yeah, I would say, I don't know if you have specific questions on the process. It is long, but can I tell you, it's so much better. We used to do a 1-hour interview with for a person at a vice president level. That's all we got to see if this person would work for us. And now what they do is they break them up, at least for our group. This person had to go through a 4-hour interview session with us. And then they're going through another 30-minute interview session with affinity groups. And then today they're going through, or tomorrow they're going through a 90-minute interview with the president. So we now have invested 6 hours in interviewing someone to be at the executive level. And that's outstanding. Compare that to the hour we used to do. So, anyone?
Christina, I know you're pretty busy, so I don't know if this is something you do or don't want to commit to. It really is fun, and you get an EDU email out of it. So you can now, because you need access to certain things, and you need an EDU email for it. So that's one little perk. You want an extra email to access.
Yeah, I'm definitely down to do it, or like I agree, but it's just kind of iffy because I know these time spans are like, they're pretty long. They're like a week and then they don't have times on them. So I'm scared because I know some things are coming up soon. And I don't know if that clashes. And I'm scared because I know that if you miss one meeting, you're like kicked off or something.
Yeah, so that we want to make sure that the student is there. So I would suggest that Christina, because like I said, they haven't scheduled in these are broad strokes. So I would make sure that you outline your calendar on things that you cannot miss. And then you can send those to Crystal and say, hi, Crystal, I have these concerns. I'm the student representative, but these are times that I cannot make it. What is the likelihood that we're going to have a meeting during those times? And then Mac, let's find a replacement.
And also, so you know, because it is Crystal, they're already very understanding when you sit on these meetings, but Crystal will go the extra mile to make sure that you can stay included in all of this. So she will work with your schedule to make sure you're involved. So if you're worried about time, she will work with you. And she'll make the meetings fun too. I don't know how many of you have sat in on meetings with her, but she makes it pretty fun.
Yeah, the fall planning retreat meeting that little blurb was a really great introduction to her. She was really nice and she really wanted our input. So yeah.
right, so Christina, do you want me to put you down and then we'll find an alternate in case you can't make the times?
Okay, yeah, sure. But I know Carrie also asked for a replacement as well. So I don't know if anyone wants to.
Is there anyone who wants to volunteer as tribute in case Christina is unable to fulfill those roles?
I might be able to help, but I'm starting a new class soon and I don't know the times for it. So it might be very variable. So that's going to be tough for me, but I'd definitely be willing to, dependent on that. Just tough.
If you think you can make the time commitments, then we can put you down.
I think I can, but if there's like, if it intercepts with a class period, I think I would have to miss it to do the class, which is why it's really tough. Yeah.
Carrie, what would you suggest on this? I'm horrible to ask about missing class or a meeting. Don't talk to me about that because I will give you bad advice.
Yeah, we don't like you to miss class. It's a little bit different now because everything seems to be recorded, but it's, you know, it's that personal interaction. You actually, that's the time you actually get to talk to classmates, so maybe not. Is there anyone else who thinks that they can do this?
As a replacement?
As a backup in case Christina. So this is the thing, if Christina can't make all the meetings, then she's gonna have to drop out and this person, the second person will have to step in.
I think I could be able to do it.
Okay, so Christina, and if she can't do it, then Alex will, and if for some reason Alex can't, then we can go to Kyle. Does that work? I'm gonna write this down. So. Then I'd like to go ahead and appoint Christina to the hiring committee for the opening. Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Instruction, with Alex as an alternate, along with Kyle as an alternate. Did I say that correctly?
I motion to approve that statement.
It doesn't need approval. It's just Mackenzie's decision.
Never mind. Forget I said anything.
Totally moving for approval.
You do not mind there.
And Carrie, do we have any other committees that are asking for representatives? So I haven't heard anything, but I don't know if anyone's reached out to.
The sustainability one came in, and Emmanuel's already announced that, but if you want to appoint him to sustainability, and then did you need to appoint someone else to foundation, or is it just you?
It's just me.
Yeah. So Emmanuel needs to be appointed to sustainability, and when he gets his group together, whomever the second on that committee will be.
Just double check. Yes. Okay. So then I'd like to go ahead and appoint Manuel to sustainability committee. Do we have any other committees? We can go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, appointments A as committees. None of us have our committees yet. So we'll move on to bill acceptance. Kelly, do we have any bill acceptance?
Oh, me. Oh, okay, there I am. No, not as of now.
And we'll move on to public comment on non-agenda items. Is anyone able to check the YouTube for me to see if we have any comments there?
We don't have anything.
All right.
I have a public comment, even though I'm sort of an elected member. But there's a reason why I'm making a comment.
Carrie, I think you're muted. Carrie's muted.
Anyway, Kyle, make it under announcements because you are not a member of the public, so you can't make it here.
Damn it, I should have called someone to do it. There's a reason why it's not on behalf of me as an elected member. The problem is it's something that the public needs to know. It's not really an announcement per se. It's more like a question on behalf of someone, quote unquote, for the public. I don't know how to explain it.
Okay, but once again, you're not a member of the public, so you cannot make a comment during this time.
Because you're saying you can't do it during announcements.
Yeah. Okay. We're all good then. I'll bring it up as like a discussion next week.
Moving on to announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? Carrie?
Okay, so this is your last shot to ask for tech equipment. Mackenzie, I'm ordering you headphones. You didn't ask for them, but I can barely hear you. This is your last chance. If you need something, you need to tell me. because I'm placing the Amazon order and I'm going to have them shipped directly to your house. So please tell me. And yes, if you request a Bluetooth mouse or a wireless mouse, you are on the schedule. But if you haven't, Christina, did you ask for one? If you didn't, I will add you to the list.
Oh, sorry. I filled out the tech survey and then just said mouse. It didn't say anything else, I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
same. If I'm
Okay.
not on that list, it would be nice to be added. And
Carrie, can you put out like a list or a spreadsheet or forward us the invoice for whenever you order something so we know it's coming? Oh, you're muted again.
oh, she's muted. Carrie, you're
Oh,
muted.
she's still muted.
Oh, there you go.
I'm using my old computer. Sorry. Yes, I will. If they allow me to include you in the notification, I will. I'll just send it out to you.
And I'm
But
also
just-
just. Oh, sorry.
Oh yes, who is that? So let me tell you what I have. Jasmine, you need headphones, a wireless mouse, and a video camera. Kelly, you need Wi-Fi, headphones, lap desk, wireless mouse. Mackenzie, you're getting a laptop and headphones. Chris, you're getting a lap desk. I'm sorry, Mackenzie, you're getting a lap desk. Christina, yes, you've asked for a mouse. And Luis, yes. Does anyone else need something that I have not mentioned?
I think I requested a lap desk, but I don't know if that was mentioned.
Yeah, you've got a lap desk coming.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Is it possible to get the people that wants what is it called? Bluetooth mouses, like the mouse pads?
You need mouse pads.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that like if you don't have a mouse, you probably don't have a mouse pad.
Okay. I will get you. I will add mouse pads to that.
Yay.
Yes, Christina. Yes, I will add you to that list. All right.
Oh, can we add in like the blue light glasses, or should that be off on our own?
I don't know. Jordan, do you think we can add those? I don't know.
I'd have to look. I don't know if Amazon specifically does those. I didn't look. And the ones that I got are more on the expensive side, so I would have to look to see.
Yeah, I'm not quite sold on that just yet.
Anything, if someone wants to find it like a bundle on the side and let everyone else know, we just pay for it out of pocket. Do that too.
So wait, Mac, you got to speak into your mic.
I am yelling at my computer here. Wait, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. I got to stream at full volume. Yeah. So if you guys want to do like a bundle or anything for the glasses to make it cheaper, I'm down to do that and split costs with people. Or if somebody wants them, I can get them for you.
There's some on Amazon for 18 bucks for 2. So if you want to go on there, you can order those. The only reason why I'm hesitant to order them through is because those are cosmetic. Those aren't like tech necessities. So, but yeah, they're on Amazon. You can get 2 for $18, and they come in different styles.
Okay, so I'm seeing what you need here. Okay, that's all I have for my announcement.
Do we have any other announcements? Kyle, now would be the time if you want to share your announcement.
This one I can actually talk.
Yes, this is what we've been telling you under announcements.
I can talk. Okay. A student reached out to me and asked if they can join the finance committee. And we don't actually have a finance committee because we don't have business affairs. When I was looking through the Constitution, Mackenzie's actually supposed to chair that if we don't have a business affairs. So my question was, are we releasing a committee app for the finance committee on this application cycle?
So that's a discussion item
I know.
that Mackenzie can address next week. And I actually know who that student is, Kyle, so they've reached out to me too.
All right.
In terms of applications and hiring the business affairs person and I guess the publicity person, just so I can, if I can put it on my calendar, do we have a time and date for when we're going to convene? Or
David, did you have those dates?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we're going to convene relatively soon about the business affairs position, just so I can put in my calendar ahead of time.
The Business Affairs Commission?
I mean, hiring committee, yeah.
Oh,
I know you shared it, but I don't think it got sent out to everyone.
well, I need to see the applications first.
Okay.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, okay.
I sent them. I will send them after this meeting.
Okay.
So Mackenzie, please send out the timeline that David put in and that you approved. Or Chris,
Yeah.
go back and find the minutes because it was in a meeting.
Okay. All right. I'll just get through that. Then.
Applications are due the 21st. I said that the interview requests would go out the 24th.
20,
And
okay.
interviews would begin the 28th.
Okay. So.
But yeah, it's definitely a good idea for our work groups to start meeting soon. I just want to see applications first so that we can.
Okay, so it's due the 21st. Interview requests will go out the 22nd. You said.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
And then what's the last piece?
Well, I need to see. I may have gotten the dates wrong. Let's see.
Sorry, you know me. I like adding everything and documenting everything in my calendar. So.
Good, it reminds everyone else too.
Do you remember what meeting it was at? Honestly, I don't remember.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but Chris, we can send you all the information after this meeting too once we find it because I can't remember the date of the meeting we said it.
Yeah, we can talk about it after the meeting.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Do we have any other announcements?
ICC meeting is this Friday. I don't think any of you have to come, but if you can, for moral support or whatever, you're more than welcome to make a board report.
And the ICC meetings are actually fun to go to for those of you who haven't gone. I like hearing all the information because it gets more detailed than sometimes information we hear. So I like going to them personally.
Yeah, it's fun for you, but it's very, honestly, it's kind of hectic on my end having to take roll and spreadsheet, but it's okay, it's cool. Yeah, you can be there if you want to help out, taking notes, whatever.
Okay. Do we have any other announcements? All right. Hearing the future meeting dates and times, September 23rd. Any agenda items, please send to me by September 17th and include any supplemental items you need with it. On that note, I'd like to go ahead and entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 1:42 p.m. Can I get it first?
I first.
I second.
First by Jasmine, second by Chris. We'll go ahead and bring this to a vote. Chris?
Aye.
Alex?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Christina?
Aye.
Aye.
Emmanuel?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Jasmine?
Aye.
Kyle?
Aye.
All right. Meeting is officially adjourned. Go ahead and stop sharing my screen.